Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today to have Nicole Baker. Now, Nicole is a kids yoga teacher, and we were just discussing that we've been in each other's worlds for, gosh, Nicole, what, 10 years or something? And this is the first
Wow.
time we've actually met face to face in real time. Although we were just saying it's like we're old friends because we've been in parallel. So I'm really excited to share. And what a couple days ago, Nicole, what sparked my reaching out to you was I saw you were posting on Facebook about family yoga, something that our community is would love to hear about your experience in teaching family yoga and what it's like also because you've got kids yourself, so you're practicing. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Of
Awesome. So let's start with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. So tell us a
course.
little bit about your background, so your passion, your work, get us sort of up to speed with who you are.
Okay. So originally, I was an elementary school teacher. I taught for about, I don't even remember now, 10, 12 years, something like that. A couple different grades, but I always loved teaching kids. I always loved, being around kids and working with kids. And then when I got married and had my first son, I stayed home. So I stopped teaching. Um, but I was really seeking something to help me, like, be a calm, present parent. And it didn't always work, but I started doing, I looked into teacher training locally and made a great group of friends. And then at the end, like the last bit of the training, they kind of asked you to connect yoga with something that you love. So I just automatically chose teaching kids. So from there, it was like that spark, that idea was created. And since I was a teacher, I went to the schools I used to work in and I asked, can I come in? Can I come do after school clubs, or can I come in and do a gym class or something like that? So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. But then it kind of changed. I looked into preschools locally. So from there, I just sort of connected with the preschools that my kids went to, or the preschool my kids went to. And then as they moved through elementary school, I did an after school yoga club. And it just kind of grew from there. Um, Last summer, a woman saw me advertising my kids' yoga camp and asked if I would teach a college class to students as a PE requirement. So now I teach at Haverford College, which
Oh my
is
goodness,
super cool. Um,
amazing.
it's just cool where this has taken me.
Yeah. I love
Um,
it. I want to highlight a few things you're saying, Nicole. First of
yeah.
all, I love that you were a teacher for 10, 12 years, whatever, right? So that you've
Hmm.
got that clear foundation. You know about the developmental stages of children. You understand about how to engage some of the behaviors like that. We have in our community at Kids Yoga Stories, we have a huge group of teachers also who are wanting to do the same thing as you, wanting to kind of get out of teaching full time and looking for the next thing. So I love that, right? That you're able to, and because you were home, you're able to do this at your own time and your own schedule, right? And the
Hmm.
second thing
Hmm.
I love is that you were talking about doing yoga teacher training. Another thing we hear from a lot of people interested in teaching kids yoga, they say, well, do I have to do yoga teacher training like for adults first? And though, yes, you can do kids yoga training, right?
Hmm.
A weekend, whatever, you can do that and start teaching classes. However, ultimately, if you want to do this for, full time part, for a long period of time, don't you think it's so beneficial to dive into the yoga teacher training? I mean, that's really, you're getting a deeper foundation, right? And
100%. Yep.
right. And then the third thing I wanted to highlight was I love that it's in stages, right? So that
Hmm.
I think sometimes we want to jump to, our big dreams right away. And I love that you're just doing it in pieces. You're adding one more thing as you go along, right? And it's
Hmm.
just taking small incremental steps. So I love that journey for you that, who knows what's going to come next, right? You're consistent. I see you. Like I said, we've known each other for so long. I see you on there. You're posting, you're sharing, you're showing up, right? This is who
Hmm.
you be in the world, and people are starting to notice, like that woman reaching out to you at college. So I love that. I love that background. So great. Awesome. Well, let's dive into, so speaking about family yoga,
Mhm.
specifically, what would you say? Because it's something that a lot of people are interested in, they're just not quite sure on how to do it. So what would you say are your three top tips in teaching family yoga?
So I would say, um, you have to kind of, for me, it's something that is innate, and I think that's kind of part of me being a teacher was being able to read the room,
Mhm.
um, and knowing when it's kind of going too slow and knowing when it needs to be kind of moved up or
Yeah,
like moving faster.
right.
I had more the first month I did it, I had a bigger group, and then last month I had a smaller group, but it was all kind of watching how what the kids were doing
Mm,
and how the grown-ups were getting involved. So I know that kids need that quick feedback. So
right,
moving quickly, but then also, like teaching them to breathe and be still is
right.
also um but there was last time there was two 4-year olds and I think one 2-year old. And the 2-year old started getting a little bit wiry. She was walking around. So instead of focusing on the thing that I was doing that needed a little bit more focus, we changed it up. And I love using music. Um, there's so many great kids' music songs. So I do a lot of that.
Right.
So
I love that. And you're saying tuning in to notice the energy of the room, right? To see whether they
yeah,
need something a bit more active or something more calming. So you might have a plan in place, right? But it doesn't
right.
always go to plan. You've got to figure out, you got to be flexible. You have to be flexible and
Totally.
adaptable. I love that. So that's your first tip. I love that. What else you got
Yep.
for us? Anything else?
So I love using props.
Yeah.
That's another thing that really brings the kids into, interested in what's going on. Like I have like this huge bin of stuffed animals. I have a parachute. I have little tiny pom poms that we do toga.
Yeah.
Um, I have this. I went to Five Below and got blush brushes, and I kind of paint them with lavender. I asked them obviously if they like the smell of it first, but they love to like stretch out in shavasana, and I just go up and down, and the
Mm,
feeling of the brush on their arms is lovely. But then they also get the scent, so
I
it's
love it.
yeah,
To
it's
add
cool.
in not just props materials, but your sensory too. So
Yes,
igniting their senses, right? I love that.
totally.
That's beautiful. I love it. All right, good. Did you have another one for us?
Let me think. I so the studio that I work in Havertown, the owners have like these beautiful singing bowls and
Oh, yeah.
different instruments. So like the last class, I kind of just moved into I let them play them at the end, just things like that. That almost like the things. So when I was a teacher and when I was a student, I remember like having to sit still and listen to a story and
Right.
really kind of working on being still. Well, in yoga,
Yes.
a lot of times I bring in stories or we make up stories and we do yoga to them, and that's why I've connected with you over the years because you write beautiful stories and I've used yours.
Oh,
um so kind of letting them move while we're reading, that's another thing that just allows them to move and do what they need to do.
right. I love it.
So
So the
that's
first one is
sports.
about, I love it. The first one being about connecting, reading the room. Second one, bringing props and materials, activating their senses. And the third one, really being playful and adding movement,
Mhm.
meeting them where they're
Yes.
at, right? So it's not about, we have to sit, there's a myth, right? That we have to all sit still, cross-legged or whatever. That's not yoga, right? It's about including everybody, meeting where everyone where they're at. I love that.
Exactly.
Giving them permission to move because they sit so still in classrooms, right? Let's use this time to let them explore their
Yeah.
bodies, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
we love stories here at Kids Yoga Stories. So I'd love to hear a story
Mhm.
from you about, tell us a story about, take us into what is your favorite moment within family yoga. Did you kind of have like an aha moment or like a moment of like, this is working or something like that?
So it's funny. another one of the schools I worked in, I've been there since my kids actually went to, they were in like the extended kindergarten day. So my boys are now in 10th and 11th grade. So they went to this school. I've stayed in connection with all these people. But anyway, I go to school, I help there, but I also teach yoga. So at the end of the year, the parents asked me to come to do the end of year picnic, like the family picnic. So that was really the first time I did family yoga with this school. And it was so, they really loved it. Getting to watch their kids and also participating with their kids doing this, it was just really, it was a great experience. And everything I heard back from them, just it's like that's how I keep going. Like you said, I go in little spurts, and if it doesn't work, then I replan, and then if it does, I kind of keep going. So that was something. And a lot of parents, a lot of people around here ask for kids yoga or family yoga, and there really isn't much around here as well.
Yeah, right.
So,
I think there is definitely people get stuck. Like, how am I going to deal with adults? Because a lot of kids yoga teachers saying, I love having the children, but I don't necessarily want the parents watching. So I think they think doing, if they did family yoga, it would look sort of like that. Like, maybe I'm not confident, or I'm not really sure what they're going to do, or there's just a lot of maybe what ifs and trying to understand that structure. But I think when you kind of see the impact, like you said, about goodness, to have that feedback loop, to have that community where you're practicing yoga with everybody, to see the adults and children, that they can take that back home with them. I mean, that's really where the ideal situation, that we're teaching the parents, like what you said at the beginning about you wanting to learn how to be calm and organized and present, right? That we're giving them the tools as well. So I think when you think about that's your why, your purpose, and understand the impact, then all these little obstacles or your doubts, whatever, kind of go to the wayside, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Love that. So how did you get started with family yoga? How do you advertise, and how do you get your classes filled? And tell us a little bit about it.
I teach adults at a local studio here, and it's a hot yoga studio. So it being hot, it's almost like it doesn't allow for other people who want non-heated classes. But anyway, so those people have asked, the studio owners for different things. And I was doing yoga camps. So I sat with my friends who are the studio owners, and I said, like, what are some things we can do to add on to what's already happening? And I was doing, yoga classes and then yoga camps. And now I'm doing family yoga. So it's once a month. And again, it's like seeing how the community takes it. If they like it, we can do it more. Right. Summer's kind of a slower time, but it's been really a very good experience so far. So that's how I do things. I kind of just try it and I see, and then go from there.
Right. I love that about you. I love that, because so many of us are, have confidence issues. We're not sure if we're doing the right thing. I love that you just like, let's just try it, right? There's nothing to be lost if it doesn't work out. And like you said, if people aren't showing up, then you're like, okay, well, let's put that pause for a while and try something else. Right. I love it. And because you're working with a studio, they help you with the marketing, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, they do their own. And then, I mean, Facebook and Instagram are huge with getting the word out there.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So what advice do you have for someone who's thinking about it, not quite sure, how am I going to fill my classes? What am I going to do with them? What does the plan look like, with all these different questions of how? What advice do you have for them?
So that was the thing in the beginning. Like, if I don't have my own studio during the day, parents are working, kids are mostly in school. So doing things on the weekends, asking questions, like, when's a good time? Does Sunday work? What time on Sundays or Saturdays? Kind of getting information back from the community on what works. And then kind of going from there, having them at local parks, maybe outside. I love outside yoga. During COVID, I hosted yoga outside in my big backyard, and it was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
And I had a couple camps there, and that was again another one of those like, let's see what happens and try it, and it
right.
really worked. And a lot
I
of
love
people
that.
ask me when we're bringing it back.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I love too that your children are now older, right? But
Mhm.
you're connecting, it sounds like you're working with, I mean, with young kids, with littles and their parents.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not like you're asking your friends, your kids' friends, but you're starting from
Mhm.
scratch. You're out there in the community asking people, parents of or caregivers of young children. So you just got to get out there, right? And ask the
Gotta
question,
do it.
find out if
Yeah,
there's a market. I love it. What does your class look like? Do you have a certain structure, like the beginning, middle, end, opening,
I
middle? How do you
do.
structure?
Um, so the schools I go to every day or during the week, during the school year, I always start where there's like breathing, where we center ourselves. We rub our hands together, we clap them, and then we kind of breathe in. And then as we breathe out, we say Om together. And
Hmm.
it is so amazing how these little kids, I mean, some are 2, 3, 4, 5, and then older, how they do it. They pick it up and they feel so big and like confident doing it because they know what we do.
Yeah.
And then I do a lot of like cat cow, tree pose, and then we kind of go on adventures sometimes. So it kind of depends on the day, but usually we start with our breathing, we move into some fun, faster stuff, and then slowly we go to something slower where we settle down. We talk about, you know, settling and listening to things. And a lot of the classes that we did at the end of the spring were beautiful. It was beautiful outside, so we were outside. And, you know, it wasn't hard to get them to, instead of wiggling, instead of talking, let's listen for the birds. How many birds can we hear? What else do we hear? We hear a plane going, over us, and just checking in. And every time there's at least, like a few of them that are completely dialed in and
Hmm.
just get it. And it's
Right.
so rewarding.
Right, right, and also the parents get that, or the caregivers get that chance too
Yeah.
to
So when
reboot and
they come in,
rejuvenate, right?
when they're doing it with them, it's almost like the child is the leader because they're the
Mm,
kids who have been doing it longer with me. So it's almost like mom watch or dad watch. This is what we do.
right, and
So
how
that's really
empowering for the children too to have
yes.
that sense of like, I know something my mom or dad or caregiver or whatever doesn't know, you know? I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. So cool. And I think my biggest takeaway talking to you, Nicole, is that you just got to get out and do it. You know, you
Just
just
try
got
it.
to
Yeah.
get out of your own way and just give it a try. And if there's a market, and asking people, asking the community, and if there's a market there,
Yeah.
go for it. Right. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how do we find you online? Where do we find you, Nicole?
So on Facebook, I have a Facebook page, Coco Kids Yoga. And I also have an Instagram, which is Yoga with Nicole Baker, which is also like hashtag Coco Kids Yoga. But that's pretty much how you can find me.
Great. Do you have a
Um,
website too?
I
I think
don't.
you don't. Oh my goodness.
Facebook is my web. Facebook is like my thing. Yeah,
Okay, great. Awesome. So if people want to get a hold of you, get to your website. I'm pretty sure your email is on your Facebook
it
page too,
is.
right? So they can
Yep,
email you any
Yoga with Nicole
questions.
Baker.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. You're such an inspiration. And I love the
Oh,
work you've done. And, what's next for you, by the way? Like, are you thinking about new and different things, or what do you think?
so right now, so over last fall, I redid my 200-hour teacher training, and now I'm in my 300-hour. And the studio owner asked me to give a presentation on how to teach kids yoga. So that's going to be in August. I'm teaching
Amazing.
the teachers as well, like how to
Yes.
do this. So
Yes.
it's had me like think about how I actually do it instead of
Right.
just doing it. What is
Yes.
my process?
Right. So
But
you
yeah.
might be teaching kids yoga in your area coming
Oh
soon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
soon. See
Take
you.
care. Bye bye.